So when you did that comparison, you didn't look at educational background, experience, anything like that? Just took the flat number, 25 years plus?
That's correct. It's a broad indicator, but I believe nonetheless a real indicator of how in many of the communities where the Commonwealth's correctional facilities are located, there aren't a lot of great jobs out there, and these are tough jobs. Nobody's questioning that, but they provide a decent career opportunity.
Well, for example, a starting salary for a CO, I think you testified to, is around $32,000.
Depending on the facility, but yes, in most
Okay.
facilities.
In the way that you get up, for example, let's look at SCI Cole Township, for example. The way you get up to 57, the medium 57, is through years of experience, correct? I mean, that's the medium salary at SCI Cole Township, $57,000. But the reason that it's $57,000, correct me if I'm wrong, is because you have individuals in there with 10, 15 years experience, maybe 20 years experience?
That would be certainly a relative or a significant factor.
Okay.
Overtime would also be in those figures, and that may vary. Those opportunities may vary by facility, but yes, tenure would be a factor.
All right. And going back to slide 9, you talked about the medium gross earnings of various individuals, and you based it on educational degrees. Was there any other job that you felt in your comparables, at least in Pennsylvania, that you can compare the job of a correctional officer against?
I did not seek to do that type of analysis in terms of breaking down the job. This was included more as a reference point for the labor market and for other kinds of opportunities out there for folks with similar educational background. It was not meant to, and I hope I made this clear in my introduction to this slide, it's not meant to suggest that this $27,000 rate is the right level for corrections officers. It was simply meant to suggest that in a state where that's the median earnings for someone with high school education, the corrections career offers, good wages and great benefits.
Well, let me ask you this. When I'm looking at the category bachelor's degree, $47,150 for somebody with a bachelor's degree, that figure is generated simply by somebody saying, yes, I have a bachelor's degree and this is what I make, correct?
Effectively, yes, this is drawn from the census.
So this would include somebody that unfortunately may have a bachelor's degree but is working, is underemployed, is working flipping hamburgers, but just happens to have a bachelor's degree.
It certainly could.
Okay.
These are the median earnings, so it's, you line up everyone with a bachelor's degree in Pennsylvania by how much they earn, and this is the guy in the middle.
Okay.
So at one end of the spectrum, there are going to be people who are not in a job that they would be happy with. At the other end, you'll have folks who are doing great, or folks who are working 2 jobs and their earnings reflect those 2 jobs. There's no in between for that cohort.
Okay. So in essence, you're not saying this is what the value of a bachelor's degree is worth in Pennsylvania. You're saying that this is the medium income for somebody that just happens to have a bachelor's degree.
This is what Pennsylvania residents are experiencing in the labor market.
Okay. Now, slides 11 and 12, you compared the health and welfare benefits, and I know you didn't get into them in great detail, because there's going to be subsequent testimony regarding health and welfare benefits. But I'd like to ask you, when you say U.S. employers, who are we talking about there? Everybody?
It depends on which of the rows you're referring to. The first 3 rows, talking about availability of coverage, I'm sorry, the first row and the third row talk about availability of coverage and prevalence of and access to supplemental health benefits are drawn from a Bureau of Labor Statistics survey that's focused on private industry. The other rows cover data that is not available in that survey for the recent period. So for that, we used a long-standing annual survey that the Kaiser Family Foundation puts out, which covers both public and private employers using a stratified sampling methodology that's roughly, that seeks to make it equivalent to the representation of survey of the types of industries and employers and the like in the survey to be kind of calibrated to match the general workforce.
Okay.
The co-pays for prescriptions, office visits, and premium cost sharing are more commensurate with the total labor market. The other 2 rows are private industry.
All right. So included within that, for example, would be a doctor making $350,000 a year, correct? Potentially? I mean, we're talking about everybody here. The engineer that makes $175,000 a year. The CEO who makes $2 million a year. Are these the same people that are included in here that you're trying to compare to the COs?
It's the general labor market, including all those folks and a lot of folks at the other end of the economic spectrum.
All right. So you're not trying to tie in what wage benefits they're getting. They could be way above a CO. They could be at the CO, same level as a CO, or below a CO.
What could be?
Their wage package.
Oh, the wage package associated with this?
Right.
For an individual, sure. But in the aggregate, I think this data is reflective of what is found on average across the full labor market.
Okay. When you talk in slide 13 about the civil service candidates, you're not specifically referring to people that are actually qualified, are you?
They have met the initial qualifications to be placed on the list. As I noted, there would be some additional thresholds they would have to pass before they could be appointed.
All right. So in essence, if we look at this, the figure of 11,733 civil service candidates, there's an additional vetting process that's going to occur that could potentially lower that.
It would be lowered somewhat.
Okay. Now, you compared, I'd like to talk about the comparables now. You talked about, at least the first slide would be slide 31, or I'm sorry, 21, where you're comparing yourself, or Pennsylvania, to West Virginia, Ohio, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, New York.
21 is not a comparison of corrections pay.
That's the
general labor market.
Right.
In each state for contract.
Then the following 22 is the CO comparison.
Correct.
All right. Now, New York within that slide, slide 22, New York would be at the 2009 level, right?
That's correct.
So there's a potential, not a guarantee, but there's a potential that New York could increase above Pennsylvania, depending on what their arbitration outcome would be.
Yes.
Right. In West Virginia, you have on slide 23, you basically have a number of 22,000 and then just a long arrow that goes down to 45,000. Why isn't there any set figures in between there?
West Virginia does not have a fixed step progression. We obtained some information about historical increases moving folks through their pay range with the minimums and maximums shown. That historical movement was non-standard, if you will. It doesn't equate to an even X% per year, and rather than show, at times where there's relative consistency in how merit steps are granted, where there's no pure fixed progression, I have constructed an artificial progression and noted that it was such. In this case, given the variability in West Virginia's practices from year to year, I didn't want to present numbers that might be misleading. So we just showed the range, and because it's so clearly lower than the other states, I think it tells that part of the story.
Okay. Now, New York, again, on that table 23, the 2009 figures for New York are used in that slide again, and you indicate that at the bottom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So potentially that, when you say the 20-year, the 25-year average is 3 out of 7, both of those, that could potentially change depending on what happens in New York?
In some years. In other years, New York there are years on this column where New York affects the median. There are years when it's higher enough relative to the others that further increases would change.
Okay. And then slide 25, you talk about, this is general wage in Pennsylvania with the other states. Is that what it's trying to show?
That's correct.
And then the next slide would be specific to COs, correct?
That's correct.
Now, again, in slide 26, we have New York that's still at its 2009 level.
Yes.
All right. In the slide 27, it indicates that that's the general labor information, slide 27.
I'm sorry.
Is slide 27 specific to COs, or is it specific? Oh, is it? Okay.
That's the progression for correction centers,
All right.
year by year.
It's 5th of 8 overall for the 20, 25, and 30-year average. Okay.
Ahead of Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, consistent with where we fall economically. Behind New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Illinois, again, consistent with where we fall economically. About where I would have expected us to be, given Pennsylvania's 12 levels, housing costs plus.
When you talk about,
And better at the later years of the career.
okay. Now, your comparables that you've done with these other states include longevity.
Yes.
Okay. When you do the Commonwealth compensation trends at slide 37, you chose not to include longevity.
On which slide?
On slide 37.